everyone. My name is Dr. Lena Gamble. I am a board certified family medicine physician, and I'm also a scientist. I have a PhD in molecular pathology. So it is my desire to come here weekly to give information, well-researched, well-studied information for questions that lots of people may have regarding health, wellness, longevity, etc. It is my belief that the body was designed to heal itself. Now, there are lots of things that we can do medically in support of that, but that's really where my belief has its foundation. So, a lot of the information that you'll hear today and going forward as well will center around the ability of your body to heal itself and using all natural supplements and the types of interventions, as it were, that might be most helpful in doing that. Our subject today is weight loss. That is a subject that so many of us struggle with, and I definitely include myself in that group as well. So for many people from time to time, we attempt to manage our weight for various reasons, typically healthy ones. Now, I do want to focus on a couple of things that may or may not be traditional in our approach to weight loss. So let's get started on one of the really big questions that most people have about weight loss that they don't really ever get an answer to. So that's going to be our first subject for today, is going to be how in the world do we decide which diet we should choose if we're wanting to lose weight, right? So which diet is the best? That's what we'll focus on today. All right, which diet is best? Now, I'm going to give you the standard answer, which is it depends on your body, right? It depends on your body type. It depends on your goals. It depends on the effort that you're willing to put in. Lots of it depends kinds of answers, right? Now, there are multiple diets out there. Now, I think it also depends on some psychological factors, and I think that's where we get into a bit of the non-traditional approach. So, and what do I mean by psychological factors? What I mean is, as we approach weight loss, we get to a point where if we pay attention, we realize that maybe if I could just get over this hump, I'd do better, right? And there's some psychological support of that, like in the literature, right? Like success begets success, right? And once you kind of get momentum going in the right direction, it's easier to sustain. And so for those reasons, we tend to fall into the, I don't want to say traps, but we can kind of lean towards some of the less healthy options that are out there. I'm sure we all know what I'm referring to, right? So, let's lose X amount of body fat in the next 6 weeks. Let's change your whole body, in 30 days or less. All of these types of things. Extreme diets that have not been proven to be healthy, that are not sustainable, that will help you to maybe see some weight loss, a lot of times water weight loss in the first few days, but that aren't sustainable long term. Now, there's a reason that those kind of stick around, right? For decades. Sometimes it's drink this, green drink, or drink this, yellow drink, or drink, whatever it is. Drink vinegar, or don't drink vinegar. All the kinds of things that are out there for a reason. It's because it's psychologically appealing. And I think that is one of the hidden key factors that we leave out of the weight loss journey, right? We talk about macros and nutrients and exercise and how much to eat and when to eat and what supplements to take and all of these things. But the one thing that I don't hear addressed very often is the psychological factor, which is the thing that actually keeps us going back to these short-term opportunities that don't really offer long-term gain. But I'm going to suggest here, perhaps controversially, that using those for a short-term psychological boost might actually be helpful. Okay? So, what could that look like? What if I went on some extreme 30-day diet that gets me, back into the jeans that are in my closet that I can't get into now, right? And that gives me enough of a psychological boost so that beyond that 30 days, I move to a healthier um, lifestyle choice of foods to eat. I refuse to call it a diet when we move into lifestyle choices because I don't want to confuse people. So when we get beyond that initial time period of whatever fad thing that we've chosen to do, whether it's work out 3 times a day or walk 10,000 steps a day, or only eat certain food groups, or fast 3 days a week, like whatever it is that we choose to do, that gets us over that psychological hurdle, we can transition quickly because those things aren't sustainable, right? Once we have that psychological boost that we need, and continue the momentum. So that would be my suggestion. Not necessarily any particular diet. My suggestion is going to be, how about we focus on what gets us the psychological boost as quickly as possible? Okay? So there we have it for which diet do I suggest. Now there's all kinds of information, and this would be a very boring video if all I did was sit and rehash information that's already available to you that you already know. Right? Like we know the Mediterranean diet is amazing. It's heart healthy, it's good for you, all of these things, right? We know that there are certain diets out here that are sustainable. And if anyone has specific questions on a specific diet, this is why it's a question and answer session. However, because I haven't had the room filled yet with people with questions, I get to simply give information that I believe will be helpful based on questions that I've received in the past. So that's where we are for now, but feel free to submit questions in the future on whatever the topic for the day will be, and we'll very specifically address, some of the key or more detailed nuances that people might be wondering about. So there's the plug for our future question and answer sessions. It always happens Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Okay, so now there's the information on diet. The next thing I wanted to discuss was GLP-1s. What is going on with GLP-1s? Now, in case people don't know that terminology, that refers to the class of medications which include Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, etc. And they're kind of cousins. That's the way I've always understood them pharmacologically, is that they're very similar in class, right? They're very similar in the way they function, but they're different. So these GLP-1s, lots of people are taking them. I've treated thousands of patients with GLP-1s, and I've seen some things that I want to relay that I think might be helpful information for those who might be considering them. Now, there are some purists out here who believe that this is cheating when it comes to managing your body and handling your weight, etc. I personally don't have a dog in that fight. I am very pragmatic when it comes to my patients. I want them to have what works for them and what's safe for them, okay? GLP-1s have been proven to be safe, and they've been proven to work. So I don't have any objection to their use. Now, I can tell you, I've seen patients who have used them as a substitute for all of the things that need to be done in order to achieve and to maintain appropriate weight loss, right? So what does that look like? These medications can be offered in a dose that completely it moves a patient towards anorexia, right? Anorexia, by definition, on the medical term, anorexia literally just means having a disinterest in food. Okay, it's not typically the way that it's used colloquially or the way that most patients might use it, but I'm using it in its denotative form, which is, you know, just a disinterest in food. You're not interested. You just have no desire, no drive to eat. And these medications can be given sometimes in a dose that will cause that. And so when that happens, patients tend to use the medication as a substitute for self-discipline, a substitute for lifestyle changes, right? That would be necessary to maintain the weight loss. What have I seen when that's happened, right? I've treated thousands of patients at this point. What have I seen? I've seen patients who use these types of medications, the GLP-1s, as a substitute for lifestyle changes and self-discipline, are not typically able to maintain the weight loss once they stop the medication. So that becomes an issue, right? Now, what is the suggested use then, based on my experience? I say that it's absolutely optimal to use these types of medications the way that I was describing before. What if there's a psychological benefit, right? Now, I'm not saying that these medications affect your brain, right, neurologically. That's not their mechanism of action necessarily. I'm not talking about how they function as medicines. What I mean is, how do they make you feel, right? So if these medicines can be used to kind of get us out of the hump, over the hump, or out of the slump, or whatever it is that's keeping us from doing all the things we need to be doing, then they can be useful in that way. And what if